Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, this is no ordinary XV01. The first thing you'll notice is the carbon deck. The carbon deck is made by EmbieRacing. I believe it's a one-man operation. You can find them online if you search for EmbieRacing. He has a website, EmbieRacing.com. Probably need to contact him, or sometime he will sell them on eBay. So highly recommend this carbon deck. It's been game changing. I've tried to drift the XV01 for some time, and it wasn't until I switched to this carbon deck, which gives me a lot better steering and just way more options as well. So it's been game changing. I highly recommend it. I wouldn't even do XV01 drifting without this carbon deck anymore. So here I have a 23 teeth pulley from from Free Racing, and a 9 teeth pulley at the back from Top Line. Top Line, I believe, make the smallest pulley. The other brand you can find at 9 teeth is Fingertech. And let's see, and you'll need to change the belt size as well. The belt size here is 570, and you need to get some pulley adjuster as well here. I put a pulley adjusters here, otherwise the belt would rub against this little deck. So let's talk about the steering. The steering's provided as a direct servo, so you see the servo is here and it's upside down, and it gives us this direct steering, which is awesome. It gives me maximum angle. You can see the knuckles touching here. Maximum angle that I can get using these knuckles. The C-hub is overdose C-hub with 8-degree kingpin, and also have a knuckle extender here, which you will need. Get the longest one you can find, which is this one here is from EmbieRacing. I believe it's 12mm, which is the longest one they have. And yeah, the longer you have it, and the reason for the extender is to have this arm swaying back, and the more the turnbuckle is way back, the more acumen, the more toe you can put into the front while still keeping parallel acumen, which is good for drifting. If you buy this deck kit, EmbieRacing will provide this servo extender here, and you'll need, and I've connected this up to, I don't know what brand this is. I think it's a generic brand servo mount, and I use a direct servo mount here because I would recommend using direct rather than one with servo saver, because servo saver will make it feel like it's bouncing if it's not strong enough. Let's talk about all the other upgrades that I've done, which is, you may notice the suspension mount at the back here. This is the biggest difference. The back suspension mounts, AWD suspension mount, size, what size have I got? I got size 6 suspension mount, and I'm using EmbieRacing suspension arm here, which is a shorter one. Don't know what the size is, but it's a shorter one that they sell. They sell it for their TT02s, and this one, this AWD here, it gives this new way of installing the, what do you call it, the upper suspension arm here, and put a turnbuckle so it's mounted directly on the suspension mount. The reason for that is that it's supposed to give a more direct feeling, more response, but I'm not sure if it really made that much of a difference. I can't really tell, but it's cool. It gives me more option. Otherwise I'll have to mount it here, which is provided by the EmbieRacing. The reason I have this wide is I wanted more steering response at the back. If the suspension mount is wider and a shorter suspension arm will give you quicker and faster steering response, while will also decrease the roll center as well, giving you more roll. So there's a number of pros and cons. I'll have to make a video covering that topic later. It's really quite complicated and there's no right or wrong answer. You can also just use the normal size suspension mount and it'll be fine too. At the front here, standard is a 1A from Tamiya. This is a 1C, so it's slightly wider. I probably should go a little wider, but I don't really have the parts for it at the moment. So wider at the front to give more steering response as well. I would normally use a wider suspension mount at the front as well for a front motor, and yeah. So the suspension arm at the front here I have is an MST suspension arm, which fits directly with Tamiya, no problem. The reason I use this is because it has the closer ball joint here, so the mounting position of the shock can be more inward, so it doesn't hit with the tires here. Plenty of gaps here between the tires, and also when it's more positioned inwards, it makes it softer and faster as well, because it's really hard to get that kind of stiff but soft feeling at the front, especially with front motor. So I highly recommend that. That's a must-have. It doesn't have to be an MST, it can be some other suspension arm that you can find, as long as the ball joint is quite close to the mount here. The shocks is Tamiya shocks, and I'm using an MST hard spring here at the front. I think it's a 31mm, and at the back I believe I'm using an extreme soft MST 32mm spring. Go as soft as you can. You can never go too soft, but what you want is soft but not bouncy. So that's the type of feeling that you can, because you notice here I'm using the ball joint at the outer mount. When you use it at the outer mount, at the rear, it creates more travel, and as long as you can keep it still very soft, it'll give you more feeling at the back, and it's just more consistent. I found it really good. I used to be a big fan of putting it as inwards as possible to give the softest setting, but I find that if I move it on the outer ones first, I get a lot more firmer feeling, and it's nicer for me to drive. And I need the extender here as well. This is an MST extender and I have to use a very long suspension bottom extender, probably because of this differential here. Let me show you what I've done with the diff. I'm not sure you can see it. You can see that little blue thing here, right there. So what I've done is I've increased the differential height by 2mm across the board. So I increased it by 2mm here and 2mm at the front. The reason for that is I've noticed that the XV01 is the differential setup is quite low. It's lower than normal. I believe this is because it was originally designed as a rally car by Tamiya, and they expect the rally car to have a much bigger wheel. You'd be using a rally wheel with rally tires, and by increasing the diff height here slightly to more of a standard, I think it'll be like a TA05 standard, so more of a touring car standard. The angle of the shaft here, you get more of a downward angle. So when you put it on throttle, the car is going to want to squat more, because it's going to want to straighten out like that when you put it on throttle. So if the differential is too low, before we would start at this position, and then so you don't really get of that squatting effect. So when you increase the differential height, you get more of a squatting effect, and the squatting effect will give you more traction. But then I do get the other effect of, because I increased the diff height here, the motor also end up getting an increased height by about 2 mil. Yeah, that contributes to the weight shift feeling. So the center of gravity is quite high with this car, very high center of gravity because of the motor, the dampers, the servo, and even these body mounts as well. Yeah, so this is a very fun as a weight shift car. So what's my electronic setup? My electronic setup is I'm using a GeForce, I believe it was GeForce, I'm not sure you can see, 17.5T. I choose the motor based on the final drive ratio. If I go higher, the final drive ratio feels too high and the car has too much power, it goes too fast. So I'm using GeForce 17.5 with the GeForce BLC50, which is pretty standard. It's nothing special. It's one of the cheapest setup you can get. I got them from Banzai Hobby. What's good about this EXC is that you can reverse the motor, so it can run in reverse, and you may notice I'm running a pulley drive here. So in order to run a pulley drive, you need an EXC that can run the motor in reverse. And yeah, I managed to fit the pulley drive. Pretty stoked about that. I use a square 40 teeth differential pulley. There's lots of these around, available for Banzai Hobby. And the pulley pinion here is 13 teeth, so that's 40 teeth to 13 teeth. And the pinion, I got this from AliExpress. They're quite cheap and easy to get. And then the belt size I'm using is 144 S3M. So the belt drive here, it gives the anti-torque effect. Anti-torque effect, another video I need to get into. There's a whole new video. Pretty much it gives on throttle, it'll make it squat down more, and then off throttle it will lift the car. So it gives more of a weight shift effect from front to rear weight shift, with the addition of, like, when you're accelerating, everything's going to be going to back, but the motor will do that too if you use the anti-torque setup. Now let's talk about the weight bias. Right, so with the EmbieRacing deck setup, you can install the battery at any position, but you can put it all the way here and you can put it all the way to the back here. And I've tried both, and I prefer putting it in the middle here because it gives me the most steering response. If I put it at the back, I get less steering response, and it has more of a pendulum effect as well, because we have most of the weight at the front here and a little bit of weight in the middle, and then in the middle here there's no weight, there's like nothing, and then you get a massive weight at the back here, and then so the car feels like a pendulum. I don't know, but most people would prefer them in the middle. I prefer them in the front to get just a more steering response, and you get more traction in the rear by fixing your suspension setup. As long as you have the right suspension at the rear, as long as you have a very soft setting at the rear and it moves well, you'll have plenty of traction at the back still. I don't think I can tell you anything more about the upgrades that I've done. If I were to choose must-have upgrades, a lot of the upgrades serve a purpose for me. It's not just bling. Obviously the first must-have upgrade is the deck. You have to get this if you want to do XV01 setup. The deck is game-changing. It's the best upgrade you can get. And for that you also need a good servo. Oh yeah, this is the RST Rev D servo. You need a very high torque and also fast servo. Because the servo hole is so long, you need plenty of torque in order to be able to keep that angle, and so it doesn't vibrate as much. Otherwise if your servo is too weak, it will struggle. And this RST servo is perfect for it. It's fast enough, and the torque I believe is about 18 kg, which is more than enough. So the next must-have upgrade you'll need is obviously the pulley and the belt. The pulley and the belt. So 23 pulley and 9 pulley at the back, and then you need a 570 belt. The belt, you can get this cut from Yahoo Japan Shopping, and they can cut this to size for you. So you need 570 3mm or 3.5mm. And obviously you need the turnbuckles as well. Turnbuckles must have, just for adjustment. And the front suspension hub with the high angle C hub. So this is the overdose C hub here. It doesn't have to be overdosed, just any high angle. I believe EmbieRacing makes them, or you can use other brands that they'll fit. You will need the ones with the long knuckle arm though, so you can put the extender on it, and also make sure it's high angle as well. So yeah, just like that. And I forgot to talk about the differentials. And you will need the differential. I'm using a front one-way differential. So front one-way at the back and open diff at the rear. And I always prefer open diff at the rear because it will reduce the speed. If you use a lock diff, you get a lot more speed, and with CS setups, you always have too much speed. So that's why I'm always running quite a low power motor at the front, because compared to a rear wheel drive setup, you have plenty of grip and plenty of speed. And open diff also allows you to control better. I always prefer it. One of the best upgrade you can get for the open diff is to get this aluminium aluminium cup with the shaft protector. So the aluminium cup makes it a lot softer. You notice how when I squeeze here, there's a lot of movement. It's a lot of movement from here to here. When this is going at high speed, you want to have as little resistance as possible for that movement. Usually when you don't use a diff protector, when the wheel's going at high speed, there's a little bit of resistance for squatting. Yeah. So you want the squatting effect to have as little resistance as you can to get maximum traction at the rear. So we're coming to the end of me showing off my car. So what's the pros and cons of this car, and why did I choose it, and why did I spend a lot of time and money on it? So what's the pros? The pros is unexpectedly this became quite a high weight shift car. It gives me a very high weight shift feeling. The steering is excellent. You get direct steering, and obviously this is a front motor setup, so that's another pro. I love front motor setup cars. And it's possible for you to get anti-torque as well, so that's another bonus. Anti-torque setup is really good. It's not a must-have, but I found all my cars runs better with the anti-torque setup. You get more grip on throttle. And what else? And with this car you can get multiple battery position. That's really handy. So you can try different settings depending on your driving style. And so that's all the pros. Now what's the cons? The cons is the CS setup is limited to 2.55, so this is as high as we can go. So this is 23 teeth at the front and 9 teeth at the rear, and that's only 2.55, which is pretty high, but I would prefer to get about a 3.0. That's my ideal number to run on my driveway. I just like the option to go higher. 2.55, it's not quite high enough, but it's pretty high. What else? And what's another con? Another con is that you have to use a C hub, so you can't convert to a ball hub for more angle or to convert to rear wheel drive. So converting this car to rear wheel drive only drift is not really that possible because of the C hub that you can't remove, and And the steering, I don't think there's enough steering for this to go full rear-wheel drive, because you want more angle at the front here, and this is pretty much the maximum we can get. Another con to this car is it's hard to find the bodies for it. This is one of the few bodies that will fit. The reason for that is that because the spit damper position here is very high at the front, and the bulky motor position at the front as well. So you need, usually mostly sedans type bodies will fit, but yeah, you won't be able to fit like an RX-7 or something onto it because it just won't fit. Right, so after that, I highly recommend this car. I would give it like a 4 out of 5. Yeah, this is an extremely fun car. I had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, thanks for watching and listening to me. Stay tuned for the next video. See ya.